Well, when you go out in the sun, CJ, you and I were talking about this earlier, your body makes vitamin D. It's a light, basically the signal of the light goes into your skin and your body gets that communication and it says, I'm going to make some vitamin D or melanin for a suntan, right? That's the same technology. That's called photobiomodulation.
Welcome to Supernormalized, the podcast where we challenge the conventional, break boundaries, and normalize the seemingly supernatural. Join me, CJ, as we explore less uncharted realms of existence and unravel the mysteries of life experience. My treasured listeners, if you have a life story or healing modality or unique knowledge that you'd love to share, reach out to me at supernormalized, that's supernormalized with a Z, at proton.me. Let's together embrace acceptance of the supernatural and unusual as what it really is, completely normal. Darlene Greene is on the show today, and she's a retired US Navy commander with an understanding of health and GHK-Cu, which is copper-related stem cell activation technology. She's a stem cell activation technology consultant and is dedicated to helping individuals optimize their health and well-being without pharmaceuticals. Darlene's introduced me through this episode to a product that is based on like an understanding of light that I had no idea about. So it was mind-blowing for me to actually record this one, and I've enjoyed it immensely because it actually educated me in a way that I previously had no idea about. So I love learning things, and this one is a learner one for sure. So if you want to learn about something to do with your health and potentially looking into new ways of treating it, this might be for you. Anyway, enjoy the show. Welcome to Supernormalized, Darlene Greene. Darlene, you've done a lot of work with stem cells. You've been a commander in, was it the Navy?
Yes.
Wow. I mean, and you are an expert in anesthesia as well.
No.
No, oh, I read that wrong. Okay. All right. So give us a well-rounded understanding of who you are because I read that wrong.
That's all right. So 20 years in the United States Navy, retired as a Navy commander. I had 3 commanding officer tours. My last one was over 1,200 people. It was 800 Navy and 400 Marines. I helped to establish something called the Returning Warrior Weekend program about 17 years ago. It is still in existence today, and it helps people reintegrate back after they've been to war, and they and their families coming back together, getting through the PTSD, getting through the adrenaline junkie nature of this beast, and even just trying to understand why, after being gone a year and in the middle of what could have only been described as hell, they all want to go back. And so working with couples, bringing in some normalcy for people and helping them start conversations, bringing in EMDR, counseling, chaplains, therapy, and mostly normalizing, to use your word, what is a very super normalized experience, right? What they experienced is not a good normal, and they need to process through that. So that was a huge deal. I'm very proud that it's still in existence. I started it in Arizona. I moved it through the Southwest region. It then went on to go national, and then it's still in existence 17 years later, helping people, and very intrinsically rewarding, because people would write in and say, you saved my life. You saved
Brilliant.
my marriage. Really, really amazing for this weekend. So that was back in 2006. I will tell you, I have a history of autoimmune disorders. So I have been really digging into health probably since 1996 when I first was diagnosed with one of those labels as Robin Stebbins, and you agree, we shouldn't allow the black magic to come in and taint us, but
Mm.
chronic fatigue syndrome, and then in 99 fibromyalgia, and then in 2005 POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia. So in an effort to be well, I dug into all the alternatives because they're really, honestly, the good news is that they don't even try to claim they know what to do with these things. They just, in some cases, they do try to prescribe some medicines, but in fact, the POTS, they wanted me to take a medicine that increased my blood pressure, CJ, increased my blood pressure to get enough blood to my brain that would keep me from passing out, because I would basically overheat, or my I wouldn't get it. I would stand up and I would just black out and I would be out. So
Wow.
sounded like a really bad idea, and yet I was still suffering with that a
Mm.
year ago. And then what happened in my life that caused me to really get to be very smart on stem cells was my husband at age 64 was diagnosed with early Alzheimer's. And his decline was very, very rapid, to the point that the chief of the Alzheimer's department at Barrows Neurological Center said, wow, wow, he is really moving through this quickly. So he went from mild cognitive impairment to what's called stage 6A, cognition age 5, unable to dress himself, doesn't know what to do with a buttoned shirt, doesn't necessarily know toothpaste goes on a toothbrush, doesn't know how to open up a banana. Like this is where he is. And at the time that when we first got the diagnosis, we looked into everything you can imagine, and everything really pointed to stem cells. So we even went out of country, out of the United States, 4 occasions to get IV stem cell and injections at very high expense. Those are like $10,000 an IV. And there was no improvement. And I actually got them myself too, because I'm thinking, if this could help me with my fainting, that would be really helpful. But it did not help us at all. And so then we tried, I won't even go into all the modalities, but suffice it to say, gene mapping, microbiome intervention and testing. We did hyperbaric chamber. We did infrared sauna. We did ozone therapy, hydrogen water. We certainly cleaned up the diet, entirely. No alcohol, no soda, no white sugar, no flour, only the highest quality fats, only grass-fed, grass-finished proteins, that kind of thing, organic. And we did daily strength training, and we worked on a sleep protocol. So we were doing all the things that I knew to do. The decline continued. There was nothing making a difference. And at the point in time a year ago where I discovered this new technology of photobiomodulation that we'll talk about, he was at a point where he was no longer engaging in conversation. It was just too hard. He was sleeping the day away. And I mean like 3.5 hours a day. I'd go check to see if he was breathing, because they were such long naps, especially after, a 10-hour night of sleep. He would then fall asleep at 7. He would ask the same questions over and over again. But I think the saddest thing for me was he wasn't his personality anymore. He was not even trying to be funny. That's who he is. Like if he's talking, he's trying to be funny always. And that wasn't the case anymore. So we were at a point where I was very sad myself. I had broken my foot and sprained my ankle by missing the last 3 steps of our staircase. And this was more devastating than just a break would normally be, because what it did was it removed my coping mechanisms as a care provider. I used to go for walks around the neighborhood in the morning, and I would go play pickleball. And that was a social and a release for me to get some exercise. All of my fun just kind of dissipated. And what happened is I would ask my husband, can you get me a glass of ice water with electrolytes, or just a glass of ice water? And he would just look at me like, I have no idea what you're saying. I don't know what to do for you. I don't know how to do that. So the recognition of where we were my inability to have my normal coping mechanisms, I was depressed and I was wanting to cry every single day. And so that's where we were when I had a friend who said to me, you know, Darlene, we have been using this new technology that we are activating our own stem cells, and it has dramatically improved our health. And she had a child with a rare genetic disorder, like autism, and a cousin with leukemia, and she had autoimmune disorders, and all of them were just thriving. So I was like, sign me up. I didn't know there were 90 clinical studies, double-blind, placebo-controlled. I didn't know there was a patent. I heard this activates your own stem cells, and I said, I'm in. So to be quite honest, since I have read the 90 clinical studies and I have dug in, but at the time, CJ, I was just too desperate to care. I was like, if this works, if it can just work for one person, my husband, then I'm in, right? It doesn't have to work for everybody, but it just needs to work for, it turns out it does work for everybody, but at the time I was in. So what happened in the very first week of us using this patch technology, and I'll just sort of show you, it's the size of a quarter. We'll talk about how it works in a minute. This patch technology, in the first week, he did not nap at all. So that 3.5 hour nap he'd been taking for a year, he did not nap at all.
Wow.
He did not fall asleep at 7 o'clock at night. He was chatting like a dam broke. I mean, just talking and talking, and with it, he was replying appropriately. He was replying quickly, and he was articulate. And the best thing is he was back to being his own personality. He was funny, he was flirty, he was my husband again. The second week, he got like an hour and a half of deep sleep. The most we had done was 15 minutes with all of the things I had tried, which was a lot. And then over time, more things happened. He regained the ability to whistle. His blood pressure dropped 37 points. His hair grew in, his bald spot closed up. His hair grew in from gray to brown. I said, when have you ever had brown hair? He said, when I was a kid. And then at the 5-month mark, he actually regained his sense of smell, which he lost 15 years ago. And and that's actually, most people don't know, but that's an early warning indicator for Alzheimer's. So if it's not to COVID and you lose your sense of smell, go get that checked out, because that's a problem. So he regained his sense of smell, and those changes have stayed for the whole year that we've been patching. I will say that he has lost some skills, but those ones that he gained have stayed with him. And so I've got him back, and I've got him in a higher quality of life. He's stronger, he's healthier, and I know his quality of life is better. And then what happened for me is I immediately got out of pain. We have these patches that remove pain better than morphine, Vicodin, Percocet, better than anything I have ever experienced. And there's no drug in them. There's no medicine. It's light therapy. And then I also had this infusion of energy. I was in the kitchen cooking up a storm. I don't like cooking. I've always told people I don't like cooking. And I'm in the kitchen cooking up thinking, I don't know why I hated cooking. What cooking? Well, I just never had the energy at the end of the day to be wanting to cook. And so I all of a sudden had this energy. Other things for me that happened, no symptoms in a year of fainting. I have not had to take that medicine that raises your blood pressure even once. I think it was probably took about 2 or 3 months. I noticed my skin dramatically improved. I had rosacea that cleared up. I had all this, instead of the dry, scaly, lizard-like skin that I'd had really my whole life. I was the person that traveled with a tub of Cetaphil everywhere I went. I had this soft skin. I to the point where I would find myself in meetings like rubbing my elbows, going, "Is this really my elbow?" It was so weird, so strange. I no longer was stress eating. I was no longer emotional eating. My hormones balanced, and I lost weight, 10 pounds that I mean, I tried everything and nothing was working. And all of a sudden the weight just started falling off. And the best part was, it probably in somewhere in the 2 to 3 week point, my depression and anxiety just lifted. It just disappeared. And I felt so happy, and I was able to live in a place of gratitude in the midst of what is a very challenging situation. I was able to live in a place of gratitude.
Wow. I don't know where to start with that. That was intense. So, okay. So you're going along in life and all of these events piled on top of you and you happen upon this therapy. Can you tell us more about what it is, where it
Yeah.
comes from, why it works?
Yeah, I can. You know, the interesting thing that I didn't know about stem cells before discovering this technology is that when you're 30, half of your stem cells are dormant. And when you're 60, they're almost all dormant. And so people who are extracting their own stem cells and then doing stuff with them and putting them back in, you know, are they even awake? Are they alive? Are they doing anything for you? I don't know. The stem cells are the body's raw materials. So they reduce inflammation, they trigger the death of old cells, they can differentiate into bone, muscle, cartilage, or fat. They can self-replicate, they can be brain, lung, tissue, any kind of thing in your whole body because that's what made you. Well, when you go out in the sun, CJ, you and I were talking about this earlier, your body makes vitamin D. It's a light, basically the signal of the light goes into your skin and your body gets that communication and it says, I'm going to make some vitamin D or melanin for a suntan, right? That's the same technology. That's called photobiomodulation. Similarly, if I were to look at you through night vision goggles, you have light inside of you. And I love that you have light inside of you. And so what this patch, this little tiny quarter-sized patch does, it's made up of nanocrystals that are hermetically sealed in there. So nothing is going into the body. It's a completely non-transdermal patch, totally safe, no contraindications, no drug interactions, no prescription required, available in 87 countries, including Australia. And what it does is when you put it near your body or even on the outside of your clothing, stick it in a pocket and it will reflect your own light back into you at a very specific wavelength that elevates certain peptides. So the patch that is sort of the single patch everybody wants to start with is called the stem cell activation patch, and it elevates copper peptide. Now, I had never heard of copper peptide, GHK-Cu. Peptides are kind of all the rage now, but the single peptide GHK-Cu has actually been studied for 50 years. There's just thousands of documentation around the double-blind placebo-controlled studies of this. And this copper peptide does amazing things. You can actually Google in PubMed GHK-Cu and you'll see 50 years of studies. So what you'll find this does, and you can get GHK-Cu through injections or face creams or through our patch. There's a book I have called How to Reverse Aging by Dr. John Harmon, a comprehensive guide to copper peptides. He captures all the different things that copper peptides do, this GHK-Cu. And in it, he talks about one of the biggest things it does is it increases your stem cells. It also produces growth factors. The brain and nerves, it's phenomenal for brain and nerves. We'll talk about that in a second, which is, of course, where I was wanting it to go for my husband. Amazing for heart. It actually reduced fibrinogen synthesis, which is the top predictor of cardiovascular disease, and increased myostatin, which protects against heart failure. It protects the lungs. It improves healing and tissue repair. It's an amazing anti-cancer. So there are people with cancer getting GHK-Cu injections and finding it resets the programmed cell death of human cancer cells. And that includes neuroblastoma, leukemia, and breast cancer cells. Does not affect healthy cells. It actually repaired DNA, damaged DNA, and it reset 84 genes to protect against cancer. It's an amazing antioxidant and anti-inflammatory and amazing for skin and hair. In fact, I have like 2 inches of new growth that's still not sitting down. That's just from the patches that just all of a sudden we both got all of this hair growth. The effect of GHK on the brain, it improves memory. It promotes nerve growth. It actually provides an optimal cellular environment for neural development. I love this. It leads to faster and more profound nerve regeneration. It upregulates 408 genes and downregulates 230, promotes the growth of new blood vessels, It removes free radicals that harm neural networks. It does cross into the blood-brain barrier and has neuroprotective qualities. It actually even stimulates nerve growth factor, which is a critical protein that plays a key role in developing neurons. So this GHK is really powerful. So when our patch, it's to get the patent, we had to prove that our stem cell activation patch elevated GHK-Cu, and that was proven. And there's actually a study that I love. I love this study. It was done in 2019. So the stem cell activation patch is 4 years old. The patches have been around 20 years. So there are 90 clinical studies that are proving the efficacy of patches. And just to show you how safe they are and trusted they are, in the 2008 Olympics, over 300 Olympic athletes were wearing our patches. And now I find out that Thomas Brady wears our patches, the Kansas City Chiefs are wearing our patches. And so we have a lot of big elite athletes wearing our patches. In this 2019 study on the stem cell activation patch, you can actually see on my website the pictures of these EEGs. The EEGs started out before starting this stem cell activation patch with red, red, a little bit of yellow, and that red is indicative of inflammation. It's indicative of PTSD, ADHD, hypercoherence, which is a poor communication between the left and right hemisphere. And they started patching 12 hours on and 12 hours off, which is the protocol. And in just 3 weeks, they did another EEG, and you can see the brain map completely changes. The blues, the greens, and the different colors start to come in, and people start reporting, I'm feeling calmer, I'm having less anxiety, my memory's improved. Then at 6 weeks, there's a whole new brain map, and the study findings in this double-blind placebo-controlled study actually proved, yes, it elevated the GHK-Cu, but it also supported that cell and nerve regeneration. It improved the nervous system, it lowered anxiety, it decreased the brain inflammation, and it improved memory, focus, and cognition, which I got to watch happen in my husband right away, and I got to experience in myself so quickly. One other study I want to tell you about, and that was done by the Center for Biofield Sciences, and it's on the vascular system. The same patch that's so great for the brain, in 6 weeks, participants saw improvements in their vascular system. And I mean, every 6 weeks, the cardiovascular system began functioning as if it were 8 weeks younger. And I think that's why I no longer am fainting. I think I have a whole new revamped cardiovascular system that's getting enough blood to my brain. So I can now, I could not do a single squat. When I would squat and stand back up, I would just go, and I'd be out. If I tried to play pickleball in the heat of Arizona here, I would be out. It would just be, I would overheat and I would start passing out. And I am doing all of those things now with no difficulty and no medicine. It's really amazing.
Wow, sounds like a very a miracle type situation with these.
It is. In the first 24 hours of wearing the stem cell activation patch, it's resetting 4,000 genes to their healthier, younger state. And what I love about this is just like Robin Stevens talked about, your body has an innate wisdom. And like you have said, it knows how to heal itself. This is optimizing your own body's wisdom and healing of itself. It's supporting your own cellular repair. So without any kind of drug going in, with just the light signaling communication, we are biochemical and bioelectrical human beings, right? We are both. And you do a lot of discussion around energy in your podcast. And this is light therapy, which is energy, right? So 80% of people experience positive results in just 3 to 6 weeks. And that's rapid pain relief, that reduced inflammation, wound healing support, energy and vitality, deeper sleep, mental clarity, enhanced sports performance, faster recovery, improved skin appearance. It's just remarkable. And it's done things like 4 bulging discs that, there's no medicine or surgery that can help 4 bulging discs. And yet 14 months later, you can look at an MRI and see it's repaired. Now I have to be very careful as consultants and say that LifeWave products are not intended to cure, treat, diagnose any disease. the bottom line is your body is doing the heavy lifting and the work around these things. So it's just extraordinary. There's really nothing that I can think of. There's nothing I can think of that it doesn't help with. And I've
Okay.
had thousands of testimonials around me now from family and friends and people with microscopic colitis or leaky gut or fibromyalgia or even Parkinson's, tremoring since age 5. After 3 weeks, they stopped tremoring. I mean, it's just miracle after miracle after miracle. My friend that introduced me, her cousin that had leukemia, was on his deathbed, CJ. He was basically said, we're going to give you this pill. It's going to kill you, but it'll improve your quality of life until you die. He had sold all of his cows on his farm. He was in bed round the clock. He was a veteran, Agent Orange veteran. He was on pain meds 24/7, using a walker or a wheelchair. And the whole family had prepared for his death. And this friend sent him the patches, said, just try this. I have no idea what it will do for you, but give it a try. In 3 days, he was out of bed, walking and not using his wheelchair. In 2 weeks, he was traveling. He's since bought all of his cows back. He's living this high quality of life. His white cell count improved dramatically. He says he feels better than he had in 2 or 3 decades. So, I mean, when you can take somebody that's on their deathbed and turn things around, I mean, that is
Phenomenal.
amazing.
Mm-hmm. So my understanding of what you said about this patch, it's like a reflector that actually sends your own light back into your body to activate your stem cells. Does it wear out?
Each patch degrades over about 18 hours, but what you do is you basically get a sleeve of 30. So you take it, you put it on for 12 hours. Actually, 12 hours is the optimal time. You can wear between like 10 and 14, but more is not better. So wearing it 18 hours is not better than 12 hours because we don't want your body to get used to the signal and stop responding. So
Right.
12 hours on, then 12 hours off, then 12 hours on, then 12 hours off, right? And so the only time I don't do that is, like, let's say I patch someone with the patches that get someone out of pain and I send them on their way and they don't have patches for the next week, or their patches aren't arriving for a week because they come in the mail and they sometimes take 5 days. If I send them off, I'll say wear them as long as they're working, and they often will work 18 to 24 hours. And then when their new patches come on, they'll go 12 hours on and 12 hours off. But yeah, and it depends on how hot your body is. They degrade over time with the heat and the light.
Mm. Well, it makes me want to pose the question too, does it work on pets? Because people are going to
It
ask
does
that.
actually. It does actually. There's a whole line of patches for pets.
Oh,
And
wow.
there's a video on my website of horses being patched for pain and inflammation. And it's remarkable the difference that you can see. And there's a picture of a pet that clearly has glaucoma in their eye, and an after picture where there is no glaucoma in the eye. And what people do, which I'm not allowed to say we do, but we do. Maybe I'm only not allowed to say it in the United States, and since you're in Australia, I'm going to get away with it. But we take our patches off and we put them on our pets. As soon as we take them off, we put them on. My sister puts them in her dog bed. People put them in a little, for a cat, like a little, you can actually stick it. It doesn't matter which direction it goes. So it can be facing either way. So if it can be like on the outside, inside of a collar, just facing that way on sticking, or it can be in a little vest, or it's any way you can get vet tape, you name it. But it's dramatically helped animals that were really also not looking like they were going to make it, and it's turned them around.
Wow. Uh, Before we continue, this goes worldwide, so do you want me to cut that out or?
No, you go ahead.
Okay.
I'm willing to take a risk, and I want people to understand it's safe enough for your pets.
Yeah.
It's safe enough for kids. It's safe enough for grandparents. It is that safe because it's just your own body. It's light. It's just light. It's like saying, is it safe to go out in the sun, and is it safe to eat a salad?
Mm. You, when you were speaking about it before, you were saying our patches. Is this something that you've actually participated in the development of?
No, it's not. I just was introduced to it, and in fact, I was introduced to it. Really late. Like, if I would have been aware of this several years ago, I truly don't believe my husband would be where he is today. I think if we would have gotten in early enough, the reversal we could have done it. And certainly, I still see improvement in certain areas of him, that normally don't happen at all. I mean, he's
Yeah.
really strong. He's working out every day. And you watch others and they just decline, their whole body starts to decline, right? And his ability to be articulate is different. But I just, part of why I'm talking about it and sharing is that I think it's criminal that there's this product out here that does so much for you, for everyone, and that it's just so unknown. And I did a lot of research, CJ. I worked hard to look for solutions. I tried everything and I knew nothing about this. I was a very quiet social person. I didn't ever post on Facebook or Instagram, nothing ever really. And I think I posted when one daughter graduated from the United States Naval Academy, and then 3 years later when another one graduated from the United States Air Force Academy. That, when they got married, I posted, but that's like it. No one knew what was going on with Darlene because I had no footprint. But then this happened, and I want people to know, because if I would have heard one podcast telling me about this, I would have jumped on it and tried it, and we would be in a different place. And I would have gone, 3 years without having all of these autoimmune disorders and these symptoms and feeling so great. I feel so great, and I have friends that feel so great now, and people who said, yeah, I really am fine. I have a doctor friend. She's like, yeah, I'm really just trusting them for my daughter because her daughter had a brain bleed, very severe, was failing school after concussion, hospitalized, not doing well, started patching her. She started getting straight A's. She started to just do so well, but she started with herself. And she said, well, I don't really have anything wrong. Well, except that all of a sudden she doesn't have to take her thyroid medicine anymore. And her scoliosis is clearing up, and her lower back pain is gone. And, she's like, I thought I was okay, but I'm really doing great now. She's lost 30 pounds, and I wouldn't have thought she had 30 pounds to lose. So it's great that it can help you build muscle and lose body fat. So many of the awful medicines that are out there today are, the first thing they do is they cause you to drop your muscle and your water weight. And we have to hold on to muscle with every fiber of our being, because as we get older and it declines year to year, that is what we need to stay stable and sturdy and keep from falling. It also helps to improve bone density. One of the things that you were talking about in another podcast was detoxification. This stem cell activation patch elevates your body's glutathione. And are you familiar with glutathione, CJ?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm an expert in any by any means, but
Okay. The glutathione is phenomenal. I've listened to about 3 or 4 doctors say if there was only one supplement or one thing that you could do, it would be glutathione. The people that live the longest in the world have the highest levels of glutathione. The problem is we don't make a lot of it as we get older, and we burn through it anytime we're sick. And it's our body's master antioxidant and immune booster, as well as the primary antioxidant pathway for detoxification. So our stem cell activation patch already elevates your glutathione levels by 30% every day. That's phenomenal. That's actually more than an IV. Before I knew anything about the patches, because I had 4 autoimmune diseases, or was labeled as, or was told I did, as I went into the pandemic, I was a little bit freaked, and I was trying to do everything I could for my immune system, including IV glutathione and oral glutathione. But that IV, which is the best way to get it because it doesn't break down through your stomach lining and everything else, was only elevating my glutathione by 27% with a half-life of 7 minutes. And I paid a lot of money for those IVs. But this one patch, the stem cell activation patch, elevates at 30%. We also, though, have a glutathione patch. And the glutathione patch elevates your glutathione by 300% on average, and it stays there for 24 hours. So we have had people there was a study done, they were all going to go have knee surgery. Their knee had, no cartilage. It was bone on bone. And they wore the anti-inflammation patch and the glutathione patch. And in 2 or 3 months, 0 of them went on to have knee surgery. They could, because glutathione regenerates cartilage and it increases collagen and it reduces oxidative stress. And those 3 patches, that stem cell activation, anti-inflammation, and the glutathione patch, they knock out spike proteins. Everybody who's had the vaccination has spike proteins. Anybody who's ever had COVID has spike proteins. And quite honestly, a lot of people who are around those people have had shedding and have spike proteins. And those spike proteins are really bad for your gut. They're really bad for your heart, your lungs, your brain, all of these things. So we need to get rid of spike proteins. It's part of that detox, but it's not an easy thing to do. But those 3 patches for 2 months, even just 2 months, will get rid of spike proteins.
Mind blown. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And there's studies to show like the improvement in body fat and improvement in muscle, the elevation of epithelium for, there's an energy patch I love. So anybody, if you have anybody in your audience that's doing energy drinks or living on caffeine, there's the first patch that was ever invented, at the request of our United States government, asking the inventor to try to help our US Navy SEALs who needed to be able to stay awake for 3 and 4 days at a time on their missions without amphetamines and things that were bad for them. And so the first patch was called Energy Enhancer, and it is amazing because it increases your energy and endurance and reduces fatigue and muscle soreness actually by increasing beta oxidation and energy production in the cell, really improving the mitochondrial function. I was actually looking for something to improve mitochondrial function for my husband. Not an easy thing to find. I think disease is really all at the cell level. So here we have our very first patch that increases energy and actually fat burning. It improves, I think it burns an extra 300 to 600 calories a day. So amazing, but it doesn't feel like a shot of espresso. It's just like Energizer Bunny all day long without any dips, without any feeling of like, oh, I'm tired, I need some caffeine, or I need to eat, or I need something, I need a nap. You just never have that afternoon slump. You never feel that, and you just keep going and going all day long. And I love that. And people actually perform. Athletes are performing tremendous. In fact, the very first group of people to test these in real full measure was our US Stanford swim team. They were coached by an Olympic coach. Then that's how these all got into Olympic hands, and Michael Phelps began to wear them, and Serena Williams and David Beckham. But the whole Stanford swim team began to wear them. At least I think 5 of them in the first day broke their best personal record, some of which were world records, in the first day wearing the Energy Enhancer. That's how much better they performed because of the energy. So really amazing. And that's why you'll see pictures of our 2008 Olympic team with them on their body.
Who developed this technology?
His name is David Schmidt, and he's just a genius inventor. He has over 150 patents right now, with I think he'll be at 180 at the end of this year. He is a beautiful human. He's all out for helping people live a higher quality life. It's not just about living longer, it's about living healthier. So I love that. And I actually love that, I have 3 doctors on these patches, 3. But guess what? None of them told me about it. I asked them about it and said, are you familiar with this? And they are like, oh yeah, I take those. I love that. I'm like, why didn't you tell me about this? And they would say, well, we have to be really careful, about what we can't say. But there's a doctor that's an anesthesiologist, Dr. Joseph Peck, who's a 40-year physician. And CJ, he says, I love this. He says, your health is your greatest wealth, which I totally agree with. But then he says that this is the most significant medical breakthrough in my lifetime. We have we have world-renowned plastic surgeons where people are traveling internationally that have been featured on Dr. Shiner. He's been featured on the Doctor Show and the Dr. Oz Show. And he has his patients wear the stem cell activation patch 3 months before any surgery and then 6 months afterwards, because the healing is at least 40% faster. And of course, they're also remarking about, my backache's gone and my knee feels better and my shoulder and this, my arthritis is, you name it, they're feeling better across the board. They're getting better sleep. They have more energy. It's just hair growth, all sorts of fabulous things, blood pressure, blood sugar, hormone balancing, heart, and all of the organs improving. It's really, really amazing.
Is this available through many companies or just one at the moment?
Just one company, and it's patented, so it's only available through our company. There's nothing else out there on the market like it. It is, I don't know of anything that activates your own stem cells anywhere. There are other patches. There are other, and there are a lot of patches are actually transdermal, where there's stuff going in, a nicotine patch would be transdermal. It would have stuff going in your skin. But this is the only patch that I know of that activates stem cells, and it's also patented and studied and scientifically very well versed. So it's the only company. Yeah, and it's easy to get. And it's inexpensive. So 1 month of stem cell activation patches is only $99.
Wow.
If you're purchasing it through me, through wholesale, I can get that for $99. The anti-inflammation, $49. The ice wave, the things that are taking you out of pain can be $49. Really, it's really very affordable, relatively speaking. Most people are spending that at the co for a medicine
For
or
medications anyway. Yeah.
and so so people can reach out to me on my website. It's iamreverseaging.com, IAMREVERSEAGING.com, and they can see the 90 clinical studies. They can download the patent. They can look at videos of how it works. They can look at the horse video of watching it work on the pets. They can see the before and after pictures, including the one of the 4 bulging discs. And of course, lots of people showing their wrinkles, or their face looks so much younger. Year after year after year, you're just looking younger and younger and younger. You can purchase the patches there. My preference is someone reach out to me so that I can help you. I would always recommend for almost everybody that people start with 2 patches. If they have an issue that they're trying to resolve, then they need 2 different patches, the anti-inflammation patch and the stem cell activation patch. And I would like to guide them to make sure that they get those 2 patches. If there's no issue and people are doing this to just kind of feel good and preserve health and reverse age, but there's no issue they're trying to resolve, then they can just do the stem cell activation patch. That's great. And they'll still notice improvements. But if there's an issue, almost all issues are as a result of inflammation. And so and inflammation eats up stem cells. So if we're activating and elevating the stem cells, but we're not lowering the elevation, that inflammation is just eating them up. So we want to lower the inflammation, elevate the stem cell activation, and then now they're going to work for you. So those 2 patches are really almost always the starting point. And then if someone has pain, they want to make sure we get them on the pain patches. And honestly, most people don't need them more than 2 weeks, because in 2 weeks, that pain, those patches have gotten to the root cause. They've really dramatically improved and started to repair and regenerate.
Right. If you were to summarize how this all works as a single statement, how would you explain that to somebody who said, just tell me really quickly, how does this work?
Oh, I guess I would say this patch uses light therapy to communicate to your body to activate stem cells and go to work repairing and healing your body.
That's great. Well, Darlene, this has been a very good talk, and my mind is blown. I've got to research now.
Reach out to me. I'd love to get you on the patches. Your guest Robin Sevens is on the patches. There are more people than you might know are actually on the
I was
patches.
going to ask you about that. Does Robin use them? So,
Uh, yes, and in fact, there's another Boots Knighton who does the Heart Chamber podcast is on the patches, and she has remarkable results. She's really all about the heart, but she broke two bones in her body, the fibula and the tibia, and her recovery. She was skiing again in 7 weeks, and her
wow,
doctor could not get over how fast she was recovering. And she's like, it's my patches. So it's really fun.
brilliant, brilliant. So you also do a podcast as well, is that right?
I don't. I'm a
Oh,
guest. I do a weekly webinar where I invite
oh, okay.
people in. I walk through the presentation. I would love to invite people to it. I don't broadcast the Zoom because I don't want, 1,000 people. I want someone who wants to come in, and it's a
Yeah,
fairly small group. I have a doctor on that call, my doctor friend, and we answer questions. We basically go through a presentation deck to talk about not only the stem cell activation patches, but a little bit about the other patches and how they work. And then we take Q&A so we can specifically talk to people about what they might need for or sometimes there are people that have no information around the patches, and sometimes they've just started and they're looking for a little bit more information. So it's a great place to start. And I do that usually every week. Mhm.
excellent, excellent. Well, Darlene, it's been a pleasure talking to you about this stem cell activation device, the patch. I've never heard of it, and my mind is blown. I'm very interested to see what it could possibly do for me or my wife and maybe our pet too. So thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely. I'm super excited, CJ, and thanks for letting me join your amazing podcast. And thanks for having an audience that is open-minded already to alternate approaches. I mean, this is a great podcast that you have because it broadens perspectives, and it isn't just the Western medicine pharmaceutical,
Mm.
you know, this is the only approach. Or I love that about your podcast and all of your guests.
Oh, thank you very much. I feel I'm finding a new way for people, which
You
is
are,
helping me and many others. So I appreciate that.
you're doing great work. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll say goodbye to the listeners.
Bye bye. Yeah. Bye, everybody.
That was a great show, and I'm usually adverse to anything that's like, like sort of like corporate type, you know, technology, blah 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 blah. But this one seems like it could be really, really cool. I'm going to have to do a whole lot of research, and if you're interested, jump over through the link on the show notes to have a look at Darlene's website and learn a lot more for yourself as well. If you've enjoyed today's show or think there's somebody out there that might actually enjoy it because it could help them as well, please share the show because, it's sort of like our duty to when you know something like this. So I know it is for me, so I'm going to share it to quite a lot of people. And yeah, if you've liked today's show, please like and subscribe on your YouTube because this is on YouTube as well. And if you can, give me 5 stars on your podcast app if you're on your podcast app right now. That'd be very cool as well. And yeah, if you've enjoyed today's show, come back for the next one. Thank you very much for listening and bye for now.